your experience there. You're getting ready to play a team in Purdue that is kind of known for like a lot of gimmickry, a lot of trick plays and stuff like that. Just as a coach, as a program, how do you prepare for things that maybe nobody's ever seen before in some ways, like just stuff that they're pulling off of YouTube, things like that?
Well, I mean, to me, you can over-prepare, because it still comes down to fundamentals. And I'd say from a defense or special team perspective, it's eye discipline. So your guys are lined up where their eyes are supposed to be, because typically they're taking advantage of someone getting out of gap or eyes out of place, or the misdirection, the illusion, the fake this, the fake that, throw it this way, throw it that way. You take your eyes off your man. Here comes a double move, double pass, something like that. So it's kind of like option football. When you're playing teams that are playing some degree of trick. And it's not necessarily trick, it's still execution. It's one thing to call a trick play, it's another thing to execute. And I think the thing that Coach Brom's always done is the knack and timing of when to do that, and the feel for when to do that, for what it's worth. So, but the key still, everybody makes a big deal about that because they do it well. I know years ago, Boise was really good with that with Coach Peterson and whatnot. They're still really good because they block and they tackle and they execute and they're throwing it well and they're playing good defense. So that's a part of what they do, but they're playing good football and winning games and playing good because of just being a sound, solid, fundamental, good team too now.
For an offensive question, is Paris Johnson Jr. getting any work at tackle right now? And if a situation were to unfold like last Saturday where DeJuan couldn't play, but that obviously is coming up right before the game, he had more time to prepare. Is he an option at tackle this year?
Yeah, he is. Although I think with all the experience that Thayer's had, it would be Nick goes back to right and Thayer. So whether it be a problem if something's wrong with Nick, Thayer goes out there. If something's wrong with DeJuan, Nick goes over first. He's on the right side. He would go to right tackle, probably first. I think Coach Stubb would say, but he's kind of he's playing guard, he's playing tackle, and the thought was Nick had played so much at right, he could easily go back to right, keep Thayer at left guard, so he could just go to left because everything's kind of working out of the stance. Nick has the toughest job going from left to right. If there was an issue and we need a P at right at tackle, he would just kick out the right side.
Right behind him, Dan Holt, 11 Warriors.
Hey, Kevin, there's been a lot of talk about C.J. Stroud and whether he should be running the ball more. From your perspective as an offensive coordinator, for a quarterback like C.J., how do you coach him in terms of if he's got open space in front of him, when he should be taking off and running the ball and when he should be still looking downfield to throw?
Yeah, I don't personally talk a lot to those guys about that. That's Coach Dennis and Coach Day, and at the same time, I've not seen him many situations where there might be some grass. I think he's kept his eyes downfield and found some viable options that it's not for what it's worth. I mean, quite honestly, there's always the run option for him in some games, but with the shoulder the way he had, we were trying to minimize some hits, risk and reward. So every time we're sitting there, we can RPO and throw a pass, or we can read a defender and throw it, or read an edge player. He's a very capable runner. I just think coming off the shoulder that we had earlier, we just try to be smart and why. Our first third down today was an option play. And the end feathered. He actually should have attacked it maybe a little more and pitched it out. I think we would have got the first down, but he feathered and kept it. We ran a zone read and he kept it on another third down. So there were 2 third downs the other day that he was a part of the action. And, we've got him worked up. And as these games get a little bit, down the stretch, going to be, some great competition every week, and games are close, and those critical scoring zone situations, third down situations, you've got to incorporate every player. But I think as we got into some of these games, we're kind of smart, just trying to minimize contact for him, to tell you the truth.
So,
and I don't think Coach Day's ever told him not to run. I just think he's done a nice job on scrambles, keeping his eyes downfield, and all of a sudden seeing someone and trying to make an awkward throw for a check down.
yeah, just to follow up on that, when you're talking about minimizing those hits, are you guys telling him hey, don't run unless you have to, or is it just
No,
the plays you're calling, you're not emphasizing?
We're not emphasizing. We're not told him not to run. At all. It's just the plays we've emphasized in some weeks prior have not been as much quarterback-oriented run. I know Ryan's really worked to have him keep his eyes down the field to get the ball out of his hand. But if you will notice, last week at a couple third downs or critical situations, he kept the football, and it was a run quarterback option play, not a RPO or a drop back pass play.
Second row left, Bill Landis, The Athletic.
Kevin, are you guys getting enough movement up front right now with your offensive line? Maybe especially in the red zone, but just overall, are you displacing people in the way you'd like to see that happen?
Yeah, I'd like to, I think it needs to be better. I think the last 2 weeks, the teams we played have done, like a lot of teams are going to do, have blitzing up. There's a lot of lateral movement. With that, I think we went laterally and done some things targeting guys, but not gotten the vertical push. So, and sometimes maybe it's the scheme we're calling. Some of those plays are more internal, and you want them to go forward. Some a little bit more, outside oriented, where they're a little bit more of a, the old word would be elephants in a parade, and they're kind of just, ganging things up and kind of rolling a little bit. So maybe there's not the push there. But in general, I make a lot of times we're watching videotape, and I'll go back and say, watch the sideline. Okay, the ball's on the 20-yard line. Where are we at? Are we on the 19, the 20, the 21, the 22, the 20? Where are we at? Because when you sit there and watch it behind, you can get skewed. You can see, like, who's got who, but do I have you going that way? And the object, even when you're running stretch plays, the object is you've got to get vertically down the field at some point in time. If you go sideways, you're not going to run the ball. So we've talked a lot about it. Last 2 weeks with the defenses we've had, we've not done as good as we need to. It'll be a challenge this week because Purdue's strength is their front, their D-line, and in the weeks to come. So we've got to do a better job. And whether it be maybe it's also in play calling or scheming, the schemes we're doing to give our players a chance to get more vertical. So sometimes that might be us in decisions that we're making in the calls that are being made.
Is any part of that, or can any part of that be the fact that you're playing some bigger bodies at guard too than maybe a team would typically play?
I do believe sometimes you can be. Myself being an old 6-foot center, I believe that you can be a little too tall at certain positions because there is leverage on every block. There's leverage on every pass block. We have to be able to play low and all that. But at the same time, those guys are good knee benders, and again, we just got to do a good job of getting more vertical push, whether it be, again, the schemes that are called, the plays that are called, the running back trusting the scheme, and we just got to get a little bit more, not necessarily downhill, old-fashioned ISO running, but we got to come off the ball better. And tight ends, everybody, we got to come off the ball better.
Front row middle, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, that was basically the question I wanted to ask. How surprised are you that after a month of basically blowing people off the line and doing whatever you want on offense, that you've hit this kind of rough stretch, and how confident are you can get it fixed?
Yeah, we cut a few guys clean in the 2 games ago against Penn State with some of the movements and just didn't stay on track and targets. We're a little bit better last week. I think if you go through and you can look at the numbers, but there's a handful of those plays that are actually blocked really, really well. They're RPO thrown. I kept saying, hand it, but we're throwing it to Jackson for 12 and 14 yards, which is a good play too. So, I still think, I look at in the 6 conference games, we're over 5 yards a carry. Last week we had a lot of 3 and 4s. If you keep sliding, I think the thing that doesn't concern me is I've noticed in the last couple games in the fourth quarter when we had to run the ball, we did. And I think we can just stay patient, stay with it. At the same time, we're going to be aggressive in what we do. The first 4th and 1, Coach Day is going to be aggressive and sound. First 4th and 1, we knew they were going to be in a max blitz. We got it protected. We got a one-on-one, and Jeremy doesn't make a competitive play. But it's what we wanted. It's exactly what we wanted. And we made a great throw, and he didn't come down with no challenge play. At the end of the game, I think we're on the 20-yard line. Got a coverage we want. We got Chris Olave for a touchdown, and our protection's been so good this year. But on that play, Thayer and Nick and Talking didn't get communicated cleanly. We got split. We got flushed, almost had a fumble. And that's an aggressive call, and everybody said, but Coach is going to be aggressive, but it's aggressive sound in what we're doing. We want our players to play that way. And I think we can run the ball better. We got to run the ball better. But I think down the stretch, we've ran it well when we had to, and everybody knows you have to run. Here comes some good runs. So I think it's there. Let's just get a little bit more consistent. Let's clean it up in our practice and what we're doing, and maybe putting them in better positions in practice. Let's do a better job of myself and Coach Day working to get maybe some cleaner calls for our guys and get that ball in 32's hands when we need to. And at the same time, quarterback's playing well. We're going to throw it around. There's pretty good balance. And, when we get clicking really good, we're really good. And sometimes there's some rough, you got to win ugly once in a while. You got to be able to, when you can't make a shot, you just got to keep fighting through it. So we're going to fight through the run game. It is the time of year in November. You got to run the ball. You got to run the ball in the Big Ten. We got some great playmakers. We'll keep throwing it great. We'll keep doing our best to protect great. But we got to run the ball well down the stretch to be the team we need. And we've been working at it. And last 2 games a little off, but I think it's things that are correctable. And I think we're all a part of the problem. Sometimes it might be a play call or suggestion that Coach Day or myself want to do. Sometimes it might be the execution of the tight end at the point of attack. It might be a backside block. Running back might miss the cut. It's a collective piece, but it's I think very it's concerning because we need to be better. But I don't think it's worrisome that we're not going to get it right.
Speaking of situations where you might want to run the ball, you had the ball at 34, under 2 minutes to go. Called the pass play that CJ got stripped of the ball. Has there been discussion in the coaching room about whether that was the right call? How would you?
Well, we got our guy, we got the coverage we wanted, play we wanted, had a touchdown. I mean, Chris Olave's wide open on a double move down the seam on quarters that we wanted. And we just, again, you expect our guys to run block the well. They've been great pass blocking, and that's the play where, again, I'm saying that we didn't execute our protection well with Thayer and Nick on the same page on a little backside slide, and we just got a little crease. And, it was aggressive, but it was sound. It was a four-man rush. It was a play designed to attack a coverage that would be there. It was there. I think the fourth play of the game, we got Chris on a wide open post. We break down in protection. But coach is making an aggressive call. So sometimes the calls could be better on our part. Sometimes the execution can be better. We're clipping along pretty good. We're not perfect, and not every call is going to be perfect. But I think Ryan does a phenomenal job of being aggressive, but sound. And we're going to trust our players to make plays. We didn't execute a protection cleanly, and they got to do a better job. We're not mad about it. We're counting on them. We know they will. And that time, we didn't. We're counting on Jeremy making a great catch on a fourth down, and the ball was delivered and didn't come up with it. Their kid made a nice play. Jeremy's got to make the play, but coach was going to be aggressive. Good call. It didn't work. When you're calling plays, you got to have the courage to take the criticism if it doesn't work. Those are sound plays that we didn't execute, and we'll keep at it, and we'll keep that running game coming too.
Second row right, Austin Work, letterman row.
Kevin, it seems like Jeremy's maybe had 2 or 3 others like that throughout the year. Maybe just hasn't clicked for him the way he would have thought. What has been your evaluation in the room of the way Ruck has played this year?
Yeah, he's played really well as far as across the board, as far as play. I thought his the last quarter against Penn State might have been the best quarter he's played. And not because he had 2 catches, just some blocks he made, and and he really wasn't playing horribly. It was just okay. And all of a sudden, I said to him, there was no motivational talk. What happened? He said, I just knew we had to play better. I said, well, lock in like that every daggone play, man, because I think it might have been the best quarter he's played was the last quarter, because he knew it was a big game. He knew he needed to play one. Sometimes it was just a cutoff block that maybe wasn't seen. So, he's played well. I think like everyone, he knows, sometimes as tight ends, you feel you get judged by the ball in your hand. And so sometimes you're pressing and maybe hurrying a route or stressing. I keep telling him to relax. He's practiced well. I think he's had a heck of a year. I got a lot of respect and appreciation and love for him. He's doing well, and he's a great player in our room, and he'll finish this season very, very strong.
Has Cade sort of maybe come now that he's got a normal year with you all at tight end?
He made a couple short yardage blocks the other day that was the best pad level effort because early in the game, early in the season, there was some hesitation. It was really, really good to see. And Mitch Rossi's really played well too now. So those 2 guys, matter of fact, last game, Jeremy pushed, I think, 70-ish plays, 71 or 2, and Cade and those guys only got about 10. I need to get Cade into that, 15, 18. And we didn't play as much 12 or big personnel last game as some of the normal down calls. But we need to get Mitch and Cade on the field, 12, 15 to 20 times a game, get Jeremy's volume at about 50, 55, and we'll be better in that unit there.
Over here to the far right, Clay Hall with the SYMX.
Yeah, NIL's been out there for a few months now. Do you think the gold rush is over and that players have settled in? Does that ever get in the way of coaching a kid?
Around here, I think we've got such great support with our administration behind the scenes. What's been a part of it, I have no knowledge of really what our guys. I'm trying to right now get back in there and get a script and have a great Tuesday practice, and kind of more concerned with that. So I think our players. I was worried about our players being distracted. I think the way we practiced, I think the way we played. I think on the road, young team, you're in a 1-possession game. You got to make some plays. I'm seeing some young guys. I think we can always play better. But I see a crowd that has gotten past the COVID, where I'm in 1 week, I'm out a week, I'm shut down, I'm back, I'm shut down, I'm back. I'm seeing a group that's learning how to go every day and go every week and get better. And I think they're learning how to manage the NLI stuff. I think our guys, and I think with the support that the university gives us here, I think our guys appear to be very stress-free as they handle that and, maintain their grades and most importantly for us, sometimes play really good football on Saturdays.
Fourth row right, Rob Allen, Columbus Dispatch.
Kevin, as a coach, as a recruiter, how important is it for you to go after guys who are multi-sport, and more specifically, big guys, and more specifically than guys that play basketball?
Yeah, is that a question related to, like, DeJuan because of his basketball size?
5 guys that are like
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Like Josh Friars was a pretty good basketball player. And, having coached in the state of Indiana, every time I saw a 6'5" kid, if he didn't play basketball, I said, what's wrong with you? Because you grew up thinking you were going to, be the next Larry Bird or something, So I know there's a lot of great trainers. A lot of kids train year-round. But years ago, Coach Walker was this way years ago when I was a young coach with him. I've heard a lot of great coaches like Coach Saban. I think the competitive environment, having to make a free throw in the games on a line or step into a batter's box or not have a false start on a 100-meter or a fault on a throw, to put stress on yourself, to have to compete, have to practice. You got to train, you got to develop the sport. But I think the really great, to me, if you can play a defensive back here at Ohio State, you can play high school basketball. If you're a wide receiver at Ohio State, you can play high school basketball. So I love it when in my room coaching tight ends. I love tight ends that play multiple sports. I think it helps them become better players. I think it just helps round them out as a person, as a student, as a high school athlete. And I just think the more competitive environments, our kids learn how to handle success and failure, how to handle coaching, how to deal with all the different situations with different coaches, different sports. I think the more you play, the better. And I would encourage every young parent in that's raising kids and wants them to play a certain sport, play as many sports as you can. The more, the better.
Third row middle, Doug Lesmerises, Cleveland.com.
Just out of curiosity, the little throw out to Rossi when he had like no blockers in front of him, and CJ flipped that little pass out to him, was that designed like that? Is that trying to get Rossi in space, or were some wires crossed on that?
No, that was we actually had a spread run that based on what was going on. If it was loaded, we had quick outsides, we had inside deep throws, quick outside throws, and a run, and it was a combination RPO play where we could run it. We could, if we saw blitz, max up and take a deep shot, and if they bailed out, it was to throw a quick one. And Mitch happened to be by rotation just in the game as the tight end, so that could have easily been to Jeremy or to Cade, but by rotation and just kind of keeping the guys fresh. Mitch was in, so he was what we call, he was the now guy, he was the quick guy. There was another, our receiver to the field was a quick guy. We had two deep throws, and we were running an internal run. It was basically an RPO play.
What you said about the offensive lineman, sometimes it looks like in an RPO, man, you blocked it up pretty good. Oh, that would have been a great one to hand it off, right? But you threw it and got a gain there. I mean, RPOs obviously are so prevalent everywhere now, have been for years. Are linemen all bought in on RPOs, or sometimes do they just still want to run the ball, let us run block and get downhill, and are they ever frustrated by, man, we blocked it up really well there, and then it was a throw?
I think sometimes the coach and coaches that like to have the running back that wants, the yards per carry for his runner. You like sometimes too though when it's amazing, like on every RPO after you throw it, you say you should have run it. Well, as soon as you pull out of it, the defense quits pursuing, so the run actually looks a little bit better post. When you didn't hand it off, they'd probably pursuing a little bit better. So sometimes those gaping holes maybe aren't quite as open as you thought they're going to be. But I think our linemen are bought into it because with the way we practice and the way we do it, they don't know. And I think linemen do like to just come off the ball to some degree. You don't want to be like backing up all the time. I think that leads to some of the lack of vertical push that we're talking about. The more you're coming off, the more vertical, the better the pad level, the tougher you get. So I think there's a place where whether you hand the ball off or not, I think the linemen feel good about having those calls wherever the ball gets distributed. I don't think they get frustrated by that at all.
Far left, Justin Holbrook, WCMA.
Ryan mentioned how the penalties are throwing you guys out of whack, especially in the run game. Is that something where they might feel pressure of that vertical blocking and to get out early that might be causing that, or is it just something else mentally that's going on there?
I just think it's mental lack of just poor fundamentals, hands outside the framework, getting a hold, just being a little bit maybe lazy and not moving your feet, getting behind, grabbing a guy. We've had a couple false starts where didn't get the communication, didn't hear the snap count being louder, or just didn't get locked in and see it. So to me, it's just we got to be more disciplined. And we've shown some flashes where we are, but we're also young enough. We've shown some immaturity, and in the game this week and down the stretch, we have to minimize that as much as we can. Really good teams play cleaner that way, and we need to play cleaner. It's a point of emphasis.
Last two games, it's been an emphasis on passing, especially the first 20 plays, 15 passes, 14 passes. Is that something the defense is giving you? You want to be aggressive, or would it help to maybe run a little more to establish that where you're having success, like you said, in the second half?
We don't really do like a locked-in scripts, kind of by feel. And, a lot of times early, again, in our league, even though we have for years thrown the ball well, people still typically commit a lot of people to stop the run. So I think, even years ago, the traditional I formation coach that was going to run the ball more than pass, a lot of good running teams would be 50-50 run pass in the first half and then 70-30 run in the second half as you had the lead. So I think early in the game, you've got to do some things, whether you say softening them up or taking advantage of what's going on. And, I think, with the playmakers we have, our protection's been good, our quarterback's played well. Ryan's got a lot of confidence in those guys. He stays without being unsound. He stays very aggressive. And, he's just kind of getting a feel, getting a flow of what's going on. Each week you're judging how much are they blitzing early. Is it man? Is it zone? Is it single high coverage too deep? How much movement's going on? You're cat and mousing a little bit early, but I think he feels very confident in CJ's ability to distribute the ball, and at the same time it would be good to kind of get our run game a little bit more in the mix as we go forward here too with that.
Just a couple more. Front row there, Joey Thompson, Columbus Dispatch.
Kevin, in the really the first September, October, you guys were really good in the red zone in terms of coming over the touchdown. In the last couple weeks, it's been hard to come by. Is that, what do you, I guess, looking back on the last two games, attribute that primarily to? Is there like commonality, or what can you do to find, I guess, more success there?
I think a lot of it's been addressed because, again, that and third down conversions. When I say addressed, I mean with some of the things we've been talking about. One, we've played some defenses that are, one, pretty good at it. But two, the ability to run the ball and stay on schedule or not have a penalty getting off schedule, and the ability to execute the pass game. Like the other day we had one that we thought was going to be pretty good. Protection breaks down, and everybody thinks it's a greedy, poor call. Didn't execute it well. So our play calling can be better sometimes with what we're trying to work up. Yes, our execution can be, it's a little bit of everything. And that's why, as well as we played, and we played good enough to continue to win, we've been a little bit off, and it's a combination of all of us. I think Coach did a great job the other day of just bringing everybody together, saying we all can and will do better. We'll do better from play calling and planning and preparing and practice as coaches and get you guys even more and more prepared. And as across the board, let's all take ownership. We're individual. We got just a few things that we need to be clear. So it's going to be difficult because the zones get tighter, the defense gets a little bit more aggressive. But in the end of the day, we need to look in the mirror and know that we must execute better down the stretch. Third downs as well.
When you talk about the running game and getting more of a push, is that an area where you really have to have it? Because obviously you're running out of space.
Yeah, and especially, that's where sometimes you got to be smart when you're running the quarterback or the RPO stuff, because, again, the numbers, they get a little bit more what we call zero hole, where there's an extra guy that's really not even playing anyone because they're kind of playing loose man across you and kind of rallying. And there are a lot, people used to play a lot of press man. You run slants and fades and get easy scores and cross routes. Now they're playing loose man, and there's an extra hat, in the run game. So it's a lot of muddy water. It's a lot of tough sledding. And we'll look really hard this week as we're playing a really stout Purdue team defensively, up front seven, of how to have the right runs with the right angles and the right hats to block them better to keep us on schedule. And then our backs going to have to take 2 and get 3, 3 and get 4, 4 and get 5, move the pile. We got to incorporate our quarterback in the run game a little bit probably as we go each week, and we got to execute the pass game. But we've got to score. You don't win championships and play high level kicking field goals. Our field goal kicker's been awesome, and a lot of appreciation for him, but we need to score touchdowns down the stretch.